Okay, I think we're good to go. Hello, everyone. So, the main reason to do all these live sessions is because I'm finding a lot of time is wasted when trying to shoot a video and then edit it and then put captions and everything. So, for this year, I think I reanalyzed a lot of my processes. Okay. Hey, there we go. So now you can definitely hear me and see me as well. Well, I do have my streaming hat on, so let's get started. I think the main reason why I decided to do these live streams is because there's a lot of time that is lost in just trying to edit a video and then make it into like a full long form content, and I will get into that. I think for now my whole goal is to just share as much as possible and then go from there, because that's the best way to, like, I want to make a lot of videos, and the process itself of like scripting, then going down to recording a video and then editing, which is my biggest roadblock at that moment, and then making the thumbnail, all of that process is a little bit too far-fetched for me. So it's easier to just cut shorts because now AI can do that, and by gaining some traction that way, I think I will slowly transition to long form. What I've also noticed is that a lot of my shorts do well, so a lot of people want these quick bites of information, so it's just that much more easier for me to like solve very specific problems in a short while and then not worry about editing, and because it's already there on the platform, and I can market it that way. So yeah, hopefully we'll get this live session like a regular thing. I've definitely put it on my calendar to at least do a few every month, so there'll be twice a week is what I'm trying to do right now, and then one on Saturday morning. That probably will be the most recurring live session, and then one during the week, usually maybe a Thursday or a Tuesday. I think that's when I have a little bit of time on my hands. So today I chose the topic of my guitar practice because that is something that I have really made a lot of headway in the last 2 years. So today I chose the topic of my guitar practice because that is just a slight adjustment. So in case you're wondering what's playing in the background, it is Raspberry Ripple, which has now crossed 6,000 streams, which is amazing. I feel like that's some milestone to hit. It's definitely, I did not think that it would hit that milestone, did not plan for it. So I'm very, very happy that Raspberry Ripple now has almost 7,000 streams across all platforms. Of course, 5,000 or something around Spotify, which is amazing. Like, I remember because my first song, Mango Hibiscus, which I of course have self-produced, got only maybe about 215 streams of all time. That's what we're talking about. So it's a good step up, and I think this staggered release is going to help me more. And yeah, you may even hear bits and pieces of the unreleased songs throughout this, but it'll be like in the background. So yeah. So I'm having a Topo Chico. I think it's a sensor. I think I've seen a lot of these Topo Chico reels and brands and everything going on online, so I was just wondering I should try that. So that's what it is. So yeah, I think I'll start like walking through it one by one. And also the main reason why I'm doing this live is because I want to increase like my camera confidence. Something just happens, like something very weird happens to me when I turn on the camera, and I want to talk about something, but it just feels so unnatural to, like, I try to explain things too much, and I actually just want to like share my feelings. So I think the best way to approach it in my smallest way possible is to just go live and like, hey, like, you know, just discuss things through. I do have like few notes that I have taken here on my iPad that I just want to hit those milestones or hit those topics and just share my thoughts. So that's the format. That's going to be the format of these live streams moving forward. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to drop it in the chat, and those will be immediately addressed. Now, those can be any questions. It doesn't have to be related to the topic, but the topic is just mainly for me to just generally riff about and, you know, share my thoughts and have it on this YouTube space, because I want people to listen back to this, and if they find this helpful, that's it. That's the goal. So just making sure that this information is there for anybody who needs it, and if somebody needs it, they will find it, and if they find it useful, that's it. I've made, even if I make one person's day or one person's small little job a little bit easier in terms of like making or releasing music or what to practice in terms of guitar, my goal is achieved. So that's the purpose behind all of these live streams. So let's talk about my guitar practice. Now, I started taking guitar practice very seriously in about 2021. That's when I had my first job. So job wise I was okay. I did actually have to go into work though, so that was a little tough, because managing guitar practice when you want to go into work, you have to, you know, account for the travel time, and I didn't have a car, so I had to take the train to work. So that was about 2 hours, like going to work and coming back. There was about 2 hours of time that I lost, apart from the 8 or 9 hour work day. So the main goal to get into a practice routine was to just start somewhere. So I started from just 15 minutes a day. Like as soon as I used to come back home from work, I used to just pick up my guitar, keep it ready, keep it hooked onto the PC. Of course, not completely hooked, but keep the cable ready, keep the guitar ready, and the PC is always on standby anyway. So that really helped, like having that one stimulus, I would say, just to have my guitar out of the box, because it's fine, it stays in the house, so it's not going to get impacted. But having that guitar in front of me really helped. And once I started doing that consistently, I just began to want to play more and more. Now, it was really not possible for me to go beyond 15 to 30 minutes a day while I was working full time and I was going in and out of office. But then we went into another lockdown, which I had more time on my hands, so generally like playing guitar for at least 30 to 45 minutes became a regular thing. Once you get into the habit of that, it's tough to let go. Of course, like it can change. It has just so many factors like affecting it. You know, you go out on some days, or there are other things that you have to take care of and you miss, but it's like what matters is, I think, coming back. I really enjoyed coming back or getting back into the routine of getting practice done every day. And now that has transitioned completely to something that I can give more time to, so I can spare about 2.5 hours through the day, and I devote that to guitar practice. So it took a while. It took almost 2.5 years to even put myself into this routine because of all the other factors that are, in your life. So like life does get in the way, and it'll continue to. But now I think that I'm at a point where I can consistently devote at least 2 hours of my day to guitar, and the results will come. But it's not about the results. Like for me, the goal was to establish a practice routine. And that also becomes one of the other things, which is you really have to set like a realistic target. My goal to get better at guitar was not to try and play a song that is like super, super difficult. I actually was very very much for like trying to do everything on guitar apart from covering any songs. So I've rarely covered any songs. Like I've covered riffs, I've covered bits and pieces of songs, but I never really sat down and really worked on one song for extended periods of time solely for the matter of covering it. That was never really the goal. And I really found myself trying to practice the more functional aspects of things as I wanted to get deeper and deeper into how the guitar works, what are the notes on the fretboard, how do I navigate the fretboard very easily. All of these things were more important to me, and I felt like that is what I should be focusing on more. That's not easy because it's not very rewarding. Personally, I felt that I had to get over myself each and every time I tried to practice those things. Like, I felt that my mind was telling me, why are you doing this? You can just play something else and feel good about yourself rather than struggling through these intervals and these note names and these scale shapes. And what if you play a wrong note? It's fine, it's not the end of the world. But I didn't realize that I did not want to play that wrong note, or even come to a base realization that this is the wrong note. Why is this the wrong note? I didn't have answers to any of these questions, and these questions were what I was asking myself every day when I was picking up the guitar. So it was evident that I needed to go back to the fundamentals, or not just go back, but because I never did them, start with the fundamentals. So once I did start with the fundamentals, a lot of the things just followed. Another thing that helped me was taking lessons with Jake. Like, that has been indispensable. I think a lot of the structure in terms of what my learning process should be like was given by him. So his direction is what has, motivated me to pivot in this direction and really focus in on what are the things that will actually make you better, and also develop like this in-depth understanding of how to navigate the fretboard, how to go about composing, how to go about soloing. All of these things are very, very important for me in terms of composition, and the way to get there was to start by focusing on theory. So that's how I approached getting into a practice routine. Like, what is it about getting into a practice routine? It's a lot of just making these small changes and changing your approach, constantly thinking about what is it that I want to get out of my guitar playing, and then figuring out how can I get the best out of like whatever time that I can devote to it. It may seem unrewarding, like, think about it, 15 minutes is not a long amount of time, but that's like, now I can't even imagine, like 15 minutes is too small. 15 minutes is what I warm up for now, but that was the only short burst of time that I was able to give to guitar playing 3 years ago. But doing that every day was of more importance than how much or how little I'm getting out of it. What I got out of it was 2 years later, I'm now releasing all my EP. There are 3 songs that I have worked on, fully produced and mixed and ready. So at the end of that one session of 15 minutes, I barely got anything. But over time, I think I have released like a significant body of work which I can learn a lot from, and then I can move forward and work on the things that I want to do ahead. So of course this EP has been a learning experience, but I would say like it is so important to just start somewhere. It's more important to just stick with it. Just stick with it. Like if it's 15 minutes a day, just stick with it. Let nothing come in the way for those 15 minutes, and then eventually it will become such an important part of your life. And everyone around you also will understand that also is a part of that process, where the people around you, your family, everyone, it's important for them to also realize, and you to make them realize that this activity is important for you, important enough that you will devote some time to it every day. So yeah, that would be my 2 cents on how a practice routine should be developed, or just I developed it that way. This is the way I developed it, this is the way I approached it, and yeah, hopefully you find that helpful, because if you have any more specific questions in regards to this, and if you're like watching this live stream passively after, feel free to reach out to me. You can reach out to me via Instagram, email, whichever way works the best for you. So I hope this is useful, and then we'll take a quick break of like a minute and then move on to like the next topic. Alright, so we spoke about how I approach my practice. Now I think we can now dig a little bit deeper into like how I structure my practice routines now. So I get an hour of practice done first thing in the morning. I think when I wake up, I love the idea of waking up and just playing guitar. And the way I have designed my schedule now is that I wake up around 6:30 or 7, and by 7:15 I have picked up the guitar, and I usually reserve that time to just express myself in terms of how I'm feeling and really focus on enjoying guitar playing and playing whatever is coming to me at that point. So it is a completely free space of just creating, and the technical part of it is what I keep for the technical part of it is what I keep for later on during the day, when my mind is already, had a long day and trying to get out of like the stress from my day job or whatever, just the daily workload, as you can put it. So once the daily workload is taken care of, I think my approach towards guitar playing becomes very analytical in terms of, I don't think I can think creatively or like, write a song, or I really have tried, and I think most of the writing that I have done for my EP or any other demos that I have worked on happened in the morning, or when I had just woken up from bed or something like that. Like, whenever I pick up my guitar right after I have like woken up and my mind is fresh and full of these creative ideas, I find I write a lot better. In fact, I only write during that time. There is no better or worse. Even if it's the worst, what's the worst that can happen? This is just another demo that did not make it. So I love the idea of just like waking up and then letting myself creatively just flow with the guitar. So I express some modes. I generally have like a faint idea as to what I'm trying to explore. So for example, recently I have only been exploring the Lydian mode. So then I try to chase that sound and really understand the intricacies of it from just a melodic perspective. Only just thinking only in terms of melody. Oh, hi Rushi. You're finally here. Like I told you I will be streaming like earlier, but yeah, sorry about that. Things just get in the way. So for the first part of my practice, which is an hour in the morning, I am just playing guitar. I maybe put on a backing track, but rarely, maybe towards the end of my practice, that I really want to like play out with a backing track, because I feel like if I listen to a backing track in the morning, that backing track is with me throughout the whole day. But if I listen to like me playing guitar, and if there's like a very nice melody and it sticks with me through the day, then I know that's a good idea and I have already recorded it. So I think I like to be in that space more. So I just pick like a random tone from the amazing new DSP plugins that I have. I have about 4 of them. So I have Archetype Pliny X, which was the recent updated version. Fantastic tones. I rarely have to worry about tones anymore. In fact, I only think about tonality and all of that if I'm really playing with an amp, or if I'm trying to record like a piece of music or a song. Yeah, no worries, man. You can work on your quiz and we'll meet later through the week anyway, so it's all good. So that's the first part of my practice. I wake up and I practice for an hour, and then my day begins. So then I just freshen up, and then everything else, I have my work. I have to log in around 8:39. Sometimes I have morning meetings, so it really depends, but I try not to skip on that 1 hour in the morning. I think that's a very nice space that I get. So once I'm done with that 1 hour, I only have about like all that technical practice that is left, and that's like the part that I like. Everybody does not like. Everybody hates it. Like I hate doing it as much as like any other guitar player who tries to like practice fundamental. I mean, if somebody is out there who likes practicing, great. I mean, you're approaching it the correct way. For me, it's just so much hesitation. Like I just want to pick up the guitar and improvise, or like try to find something that sounds nice. But practicing my intervals, which is thirds, fifths, sixths, and then practicing the modes, how they connect. I also focus on licks, and I'm recently been focusing on trying to play fast. So I'm really going hard on alternate picking, and I'm also taking lessons for that with Jake. So he gives me a bunch of exercises that I really consistently need to do for about 30 to 40 minutes. And once that is done, I feel like I'm really warmed up. So I try to incorporate the elements that I have practiced in those 30 or 40 minutes into some kind of improv, but it's never really like playing to a backing track. It's usually these riffs, and I'll post them in my shorts. Like I'm usually posting them as my shorts, like this is what I practice, like the small snippet of what I'm practicing. But yeah, that's usually what I do for like an hour and 15 minutes later on through the day. And yeah, I'm very content because that technical ability is something that I've been wanting to work on for quite some time. So I get an hour to do that, and then I am really not going to make any more music for at least a year, because I just finished writing this EP, and the whole goal now is to try and get prepared enough to take this live. If the opportunities show up, yes, I gotta be ready, but my whole goal is to now learn these songs and basically be able to play them even if I wake up in the middle of the night. So I've worked very hard in terms of composition now, and now I'm just about rote learning. And yeah, I'm really exploring the world of jazz theory quite a bit. I'm reading a lot of books, actually. I can show you a few. So the first book that I'm reading is A Chromatic Approach to Jazz Harmony and Melody by David Liebman. This is the book. So I have the free library, which is a block away from my house, and they have a whole music section. And I mean, there's not enough time for me to read all the books in that section because it's more than my lifetime, but I am reading as much as possible. So that is one of the books that I am reading. I'm also reading another book, which is Modern Chord Progressions, and that is where my Chords for series is coming from. A lot of the chord progressions from this book particularly is what I am really trying to internalize and see how they work. And there's just these standard jazz progressions. I think there's 2-5-1s, and then there's 1-6-2-5s, and a whole bunch of variations of that. So I don't need to like come up with these on my own. I look at them, I read them, and then I try to play them on the guitar, and I'm really doing 1 or 2 chord progressions per week and revisiting them every week, because I haven't been able to go past like the 30th page and I've had that book for about 2 months now. So I'm really taking my time with it. There's no rush really, and that's the whole point, like really trying to internalize each and everything that I learn. And the application part, I think I can see it in bits and pieces in my improvisational playing, as in when I have been improvising on these jam tracks and stuff. I feel like those little bits and pieces of like what I'm learning or listening to or actively trying to inculcate in my playing are showing up, and they will continue to show up as I continue to gain this knowledge. So never hurts to approach it that way. Oh, thanks Rushi, thanks for the compliment. It's a new one. I'm trying to wear a beanie, like do something different when I stream. So just if somebody's just joining, I am just walking through my guitar practice routine, how it is developed, and what I do currently. What are my focuses? What am I currently focusing on? And yeah, pretty much what is the direction that I am taking in terms of guitar playing. So if there's any questions for anybody who's joined new, yeah, feel free to drop it in the chat. I will address it right away. And or you could just email it to me or whatever, you know. So that's what's been happening, and I plan to do these live streams as often as I can, but most definitely every Saturday morning. So you can tune in, and if you have your questions, you can send them in before or save them for the next Saturday. Either way works, but yeah, you're welcome to join in. And if you're also curious about the background music, these are all the songs that are from my debut EP. Okay, so we have a question. What do you practice on a daily basis? Like chord progressions or something like that? Okay, good question. What I practice daily is a mix of everything. It's not just chord progressions, or it's not just technique. It is like equally divided time into each of these things. So as I said before, the first thing that I do in the morning, and that 1 hour, is completely just improvisational, exploratory sound kind of practice, where I'm just like letting myself like understand the instrument and how it works and what kind of melodies that you can play with it. And that's it. It's not governed by any chord progression or whatever. It's what I'm thinking, and I'm trying to think in terms of the guitar and play the melodies that I'm coming up with in my head onto the instrument without really concerning myself with the theoretical aspect of it. That's something that I do in the first part of the day. The next part of the day, or the next part of my practice, is focusing on chord progressions. So I use this book to take some random chord progressions or a new chord progression for that day, and I learn it and I internalize it. By internalizing, I mean I really try to understand what are the chords, what are the intervals, what are the chords used, what is the chord structure, and then really also emotionalize it, like what kind of feelings am I trying to achieve by that chord progression. Show my cat is sleeping on the other room, like she's not here. If she was here, I would have shown it, maybe on some other stream. I'm gonna do this pretty often, so she'll be there at some point. Cool. I hope that answers your question. That's a great question. I hope like this is what I want to do. Like I really want people to come and just ask their questions and make it very interactive, and I hope that happens. So but until then, I can just continue to like share all the things that I am doing and hope that somebody finds it helpful. That's the goal. So let's talk about warm up, like how important warm up is and how I approach my warm up, because that's something that has also like changed significantly. How do you start improvising? Any advice for a beginner like me? Now, Rishi, we play fundamentally different instruments. But I think the approach towards improvising should be that if you are now just practicing chord progressions, then you play a chord progression on your phone and you try to improvise your lead playing. I think you should just get into it. Like, choose the easiest scale, like C major, and you have like all white keys. So play a C major backing track, and then whatever it is that you're thinking is what you want to try to play. Not the other way around, where if you have learned a melody line, or in guitar terms it's called a lick. If you've learned a lick, then you can play that lick, but try to contextualize it. Like really go into that lick, get out of that lick, be very comfortable with that lick. Play that lick till you like really, like you can play it like eyes closed or in any key or stuff like that. So really you can internalize that lick, but then that lick becomes like a default thing. So you can use it to sort of maybe get yourself out of like a situation, or like if you find yourself in that part of the keyboard, oh okay, I can just do this and come back here, somewhere that I want to be. But then you often come up with these melodic lines in your head, and then you want to play that. Like don't let your technique govern what you're playing. You can do the other way around. Like if you think about a melody and you're like na 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 na, and then you can try to play that on the piano. So it's more of like trying to reduce that gap between your thinking and your technical ability, and that's how you get better. So the way to do that is to start humming melodies. Like if you can sing a melody, you definitely can just like try and transcribe it to the piano, and you will find that the more you listen, all of that just influences the way you think, and the way you think and hum that melody, you can just like, your fingers will follow like very soon. So that really changed my approach. It really helped me like improvise better, because we are listening to like all of this music, and that just stays in our subconscious or brain or somewhere. I know it just cooks. I don't know where it stays, but it stays. And then you start thinking these things, and for the longest time I was not able to reduce that gap. Like I was thinking some really cool stuff, but my fingers were not cooperating. It was just not coming out of the guitar. So then I decided to like really work on technique, and now it's like slightly less. So now I can at least like approach it that way. So that took some time, and it will take some time, but like you can start like now. You can start now. Just sing it or hum it and then play on the keyboard. But have a backing track and be in like a single key or whichever key that you find most comfortable. I hope that answers your question. This is pretty cool. I think I like this format. Like it's so chill. Like I can really like take my time. I'm not like worried that I'm gonna run out of memory, because that's like a big thing. In any way, my camera chops up like the footage after it crosses 4 gigs, so it becomes very difficult to edit. But yeah, thanks for hanging out, Rushi. It's pretty nice. Current favorite song, I think. Okay, so Rushi has asked, what is my current favorite song? Wow, that's a tough one. Well, I'm just gonna look through my Apple Music and tell you what my favorite song is currently. I think I have been listening to a lot of. Okay, yeah, I think I know. Current favorite song, I have been. So my current favorite song is this song called Drop D by this Italian guitarist called Matteo Mancuso. I just recently discovered him, and I discovered him through Rick Beato's channel. I was watching a video, and he is incredibly amazing. I think he is the exact direction in which I want to take my guitar playing. It's very jazzy. I don't know, like he's not really genre specific. He's very jazzy, he's very proggy, he's everything all at once and very clean. I'm very impressed by his sound. So the song is called Drop D by Matteo Ameyaxoxo. I'll put it in the chat in case you want to listen to it. And if you guys really want song recommendations, I have a whole podcast that is dedicated to just this purpose, where I describe what I'm listening to, or what are the songs, what are the albums that I really enjoy listening to, and I make like a radio show-esque episode, which is like the Spotify Music Plus Talk episode. So if you would like to have access to that, the link will be in the description. You can just access the playlist or the podcast on Spotify. The only thing is it's exclusively on Spotify, so if you are not a premium member, I think you can only listen to the previews of the tracks, but you can always listen to the tracks on your own. So if you want song recommendations, you should definitely check out that podcast. I'm just gonna link it and pin it up in the chat. That's a good way. For context, if anybody is just joining, I'm talking about my guitar practice routine and how I developed it and what it is currently. What are some of the exercises that I do, and where is it that I want to take my guitar playing. So if you have any questions in relation to that or anything else, feel free to drop them in the chat. So if you're just joining, I am just walking everyone through my guitar practice routine, and till now I've talked about what my guitar practice routine is, how is it that I approach my guitar playing, and what are the specifics of what are the specifics of what I focus on in terms of trying to get better at guitar. So just to give a brief overview of what all I've spoken about, I think warm-up is very important. The way I approach warm-up is 15 minutes. I just play something that is extremely non-musical, but it just works. So it's like the bear claw exercise. I think it's like a chromatic exercise where you play 4 notes per string and then you alternate between them. There's so many different variations, but I religiously do that for the first 15 minutes of my practice routine. I try to set realistic goals when I'm practicing. I do have this little tiny journal that I write all these entries at. I am, I try to track whatever is the stuff that I'm practicing. I hope it focuses. So I try to track what I'm practicing. That way it just gives me something to look back on, and also keep things interesting. Like I noticed that I've practiced like this thing successfully and like consecutively for like 2 or 3 days. Then I try to change it up a little bit and add a new element to it or something. So it definitely stops me from like practicing the same thing all at once, and then nothing gets boring. So that's one thing that I've really started to do since the start of this year. So I started keeping this tiny journal of my guitar practice. It's a small book, and then I just try to note down what I am practicing every day. And before I start my next day's practice, I just take a quick look as to what I did the day before, and if I have to tweak something or focus on something else for today, it's a nice reminder. So that way it also helps me structure my practice time. Again, another benefit of journaling and trying to do all of these things is to just get to know that how am I supposed to divide my practice time of the 2 hours that I get during the day. So that's pretty helpful. And then I decided to work on technique and improvisation equally. So for now I'm not making any songs, so I decided to focus on my technique and also my improvisation skills. So that involves like a lot of theory learnings and etc. So I'm reading a lot of books and then also trying to apply that to my guitar playing. So I always use a metronome. I mean you have to, like there's no other way. And if you're a guitar player and you are practicing every day or practicing at whatever time during the day or practicing however often that you are, I would highly recommend practicing to a metronome. Nothing is without a metronome. Even if you're playing live, even if you're tracking in the studio, even if you're tracking in your bedroom at home, you have to play to the metronome, because if you don't and your takes are wobbly, you will send it to a mix engineer and he's not going to be happy with you. So you want to practice the metronome. I practice the metronome constantly, and that's all I listen to pretty much. Even while I'm playing my own songs, I have the tape track on, and that as something has been like a game changer. So I do learn and practice scales. I mean, my approach to scales is like just trying to learn modes and the sound of it. So I approach to it sonically, try to get to know different sounds via different modes, and then that's how I've try to approach scales, because for me that's the most musical approach to it. Then I get to like explore sound instead of like shapes, and like I don't want to memorize those shapes. I would rather just like approach it musically. So right now I'm focusing on, for example, the Lydian sound, and I am practicing the Lydian mode in pretty much every other scale that I try to. So that has been one of the main goals till now. I listen to a lot of different genres of music. I think that helps a lot. I barely listen to prog, although I make prog music. Very rarely. Like there are few bands, of course, that I will not miss, and I will listen to them, not constantly, but at regular intervals of time. But yeah, I think I've been listening to a lot more jazz and a lot more music outside of my genre, if I was to call it that. And yeah, if you're looking for suggestions on what is it that I'm actually listening to, there are two options. I have a podcast that is pinned so I have a podcast and the episode is pinned. You can either listen to that, and then there's plenty of other episodes where I just go into why I like this song or this album or whatever. So that's like a radio show-esque album / podcast episode. And I also like write a newsletter where I share what I'm listening to constantly. So yeah, you can check that out. There's a lot of all my recommendations are in there. So, and that definitely helps me with ear training, because my approach towards music is like I want to learn as many genres of music as I can, and just really try to capture the essence of that genre, not just like take something away from it. What is the critical element that makes it so special in that particular genre of things. So yeah, definitely ear training and listening to complex stuff, and I'm constantly bombarding myself with a lot of like complex instrumental stuff. So some breaks are also very essential, but doesn't hurt. And yeah, all in all, I would say all in all, my 2 cents would be that just enjoy it. Like, I enjoy guitar playing so much more since I've pivoted to this approach of like, trying to really take things musically and take theory in bits and pieces, but also like not neglect that it is incredibly important. So I've enjoyed my guitar playing like tenfold, my own guitar playing like tenfold ever since like I've settled on this approach. So yeah, have fun. This is an activity that I take very seriously, but I also I'm very serious about like making sure that I have fun. I don't just do it for the heck of it. So the results are equally as conclusive, because if you're just doing it for the heck of it, then you're not really getting everything out of your practice session. So your approach definitely matters a lot. But yeah, that would be like a whole conclusion or like a good overview of what we have covered in this live session today. So if you've stuck around till now, thank you so much for attending. I will make this a regular thing. This is definitely an awesome way to share everything that I have been up to, like what is my approach, and not having to be worried about, oh, how am I going to edit this video, it's going to take so long. So yeah, and so that's it for today. I think I'll cover another topic maybe through the week or another Saturday, so make sure you tune into that. But in the meantime, if you want to get in touch with me, I will leave my socials in the description. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next live session. Thank you again for hanging out, and hope you have a nice weekend. Bye bye.